Most people think of a tomato as a salad ingredient. Something you slice, something you toss in, something you barely think about. But what if that tomato sitting on your kitchen counter right now contains one of the most powerful cancer-fighting, heart-protecting, skin-defending compounds that nutritional science has ever identified? And what if most people are eating tomatoes in exactly the wrong way, and accidentally throwing away most of that power without even knowing it? That is what this video is about, and by the end of it, you are going to think about tomatoes very differently. Let's start with what is actually inside a tomato, because the basics surprise most people. A small 100-gram raw tomato, that's roughly one medium tomato, contains only 18 calories. It is 95% water. It provides vitamin C at about 28% of your daily recommended intake. Meaningful amounts of potassium for blood pressure and heart health, vitamin K for blood clotting and bone strength, and folate, a B vitamin essential for cell function and critically important during pregnancy. All of that in 18 calories. But none of that is why tomatoes are genuinely remarkable. The real story is in the plant compounds, and one in particular that stands above everything else. Let's talk about lycopene, because this is the compound that changes everything about how you should think about tomatoes. Lycopene is a red pigment and one of the most potent antioxidants found in any food. It is the primary reason that ripe tomatoes are red. And it has been more extensively studied for its health effects than almost any other single plant compound in nutritional science. Here is the first thing most people don't know about lycopene. The redder the tomato, the more lycopene it contains. Color is not just aesthetics here. It is a direct measure of antioxidant concentration. Cooked and processed tomatoes contain significantly more bioavailable lycopene than raw tomatoes. Tomato paste, tomato sauce, tomato juice, even ketchup, gram for gram, these processed forms deliver far higher lycopene concentrations than a fresh tomato eaten raw. Ketchup contains up to 14 milligrams of lycopene per 100 grams. A fresh tomato of the same weight contains as little as 1 milligram. But there is one more layer to this, and it is the detail that most people who eat tomatoes every day are still getting wrong. Lycopene is a fat-soluble compound, meaning your body can only absorb it properly when fat is present. Consuming tomatoes with a source of healthy fat, olive oil being the most studied, increases lycopene absorption by up to 4 times compared to eating tomatoes alone. This is why the traditional Mediterranean combination of tomatoes cooked in olive oil is not just delicious. It is, from a biochemical standpoint, one of the most intelligent ways to eat that has ever existed. Now let's talk about what lycopene actually does once it's inside you. Starting with your heart. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death worldwide, and the connection between lycopene and cardiovascular health is one of the most replicated findings in this area of research. Studies in middle-aged men found that low blood levels of lycopene and beta-carotene were directly linked to increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. Not correlated with lifestyle factors, linked specifically to the levels of these compounds in the blood. Clinical trials suggest that lycopene supplementation may help lower LDL cholesterol, the dangerous kind that builds up in artery walls. Studies of tomato products specifically show benefits against inflammation and oxidative stress markers, a protective effect on the inner lining of blood vessels, and a potential reduction in blood clotting risk. Your arteries, your cholesterol, your inflammatory markers, all positively influenced by the lycopene in a food most people treat as an afterthought in a salad. Now cancer, and this is where the research on tomatoes becomes particularly compelling. Multiple observational studies have identified links between regular tomato consumption and reduced incidences of prostate cancer, lung cancer, and stomach cancer. The lycopene content is believed to be the primary driver of this protection, working through its antioxidant activity to neutralize the free radical damage that initiates and accelerates abnormal cell growth. Additionally, research in women has found that high concentrations of carotenoids, the broader class of compounds that includes lycopene, may offer protection against breast cancer. These are observational studies, The research is ongoing. We need more large-scale human clinical trials to establish direct causation with certainty. But the consistency of the findings across multiple types of cancer, across multiple study populations, across multiple research teams, that consistency matters. And it points in one very clear direction. Third, skin protection. Studies have shown that tomato-based foods rich in lycopene may protect against sunburn, not by blocking UV rays externally, but by reducing the skin's inflammatory response to UV damage from the inside. In one study, people who consumed tomato paste providing 16 milligrams of lycopene, combined with olive oil, every day for 10 weeks experienced 40% fewer sunburns than those who didn't. This is not a replacement for sunscreen, but it is a remarkable demonstration of how profoundly what you eat can affect your body's resilience at the cellular level, including in your skin. Beyond lycopene, tomatoes contain several other plant compounds worth understanding. Beta-Carotene gives some tomato varieties their orange and yellow hues and is converted by your body into vitamin A, essential for immune function, vision, and skin health. Naringenin, found specifically in tomato skin, has been shown to reduce inflammation and protect against disease in research studies. Chlorogenic acid is a powerful antioxidant that may help lower blood pressure in people with elevated levels, working alongside the potassium in tomatoes, which also supports healthy blood pressure through a separate mechanism. All of this, in a food that costs almost nothing and is available everywhere, year-round. Now let's address something practical that most people never think about: the ripening process, and why it matters more than you might expect. If you buy supermarket tomatoes that are still slightly underripe, keep them on your kitchen counter, not in the refrigerator. Cold temperatures halt the ripening process and destroy flavor compounds. A few days on the counter wrapped in newspaper can make a meaningful difference to both taste and nutritional development. Refrigeration is for already ripe tomatoes you need to preserve. The counter is for everything else. So here is what the science actually tells us about tomatoes. The tomato is not a garnish. It is not background noise in a salad. It is one of the most nutrient-dense, research-backed, accessible foods on Earth. And most people are dramatically underusing it. If this changed how you think about what is already in your kitchen, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more content like this. And drop a comment below. Do you eat more raw tomatoes or cooked? After watching this, are you going to change that?